The morning light drifted through the thin kitchen curtains, painting soft gold across the quiet little yard. Birds hopped along the fence line, and a gentle breeze carried the smell of dew-soaked grass. It was an ordinary, peaceful morning, one of those moments where nothing demanded attention. That's when Daniel noticed it again. His dog, Milo, trotted through the yard with the same calm focus as the past few days. Head low, steps slow, tail softly wagging, not excited, not playful. Almost purposeful. And in his mouth, held with surprising tenderness, was the same kind of leaf he'd been bringing home all week. A single golden brown leaf, untouched except for Milo's gentle grip. Daniel watched as Milo crossed the yard like he was carrying something precious. The dog paused near the back porch, placed the leaf in the exact same spot as yesterday, then looked up, eyes warm, steady, almost knowing. "Milo, what are you doing, buddy?" Daniel whispered, leaning down. Milo didn't bark. He didn't nudge for treats. He simply stared at the little pile of leaves he had gathered, 6 of them now, each perfectly shaped, each carefully chosen, each placed like they mattered. Daniel felt it again, that soft pull in his chest. A question forming. A feeling growing. Milo returned to the yard, sniffing the breeze, searching for something only he understood. His movements were gentle, almost reverent, as if this quiet ritual carried a meaning Daniel was just beginning to sense. And when Milo glanced back at him, eyes deep with calm intention, Daniel realized this was no random habit. There was a reason behind the leaves. A reason warm, human, and beautiful. What Milo sensed, what he was trying to say, would change everything. The morning sun rose slowly over the quiet neighborhood, washing everything in a gentle amber glow. It was the kind of light that softened edges, made the world feel a little kinder, and filled the air with a peaceful hush. Daniel stood by the kitchen window, coffee warming his hands, watching the yard drift awake. The breeze nudged the branches. Birds settled on the fence. Dew shaped tiny sparkles across the grass. A normal morning. Simple. Soft. Then Milo appeared. The golden mixed dog trotted into view with a calm, steady rhythm, head slightly lowered, tail drifting like a slow metronome. His paws barely disturbed the wet grass. He walked with intention, quiet, gentle intention. In his mouth, held so carefully it almost looked ceremonial, was a leaf. Not a random torn leaf from anywhere. It was whole. Perfect edges. Golden brown. Smooth. Like he had chosen it with care. Daniel blinked. "Milo, again?" The dog approached the back steps, moving with the same pattern Daniel had seen a few days earlier. No excitement. No rush. Just that peaceful, focused walk that made him look wise beyond his years. Milo stopped at the same spot beside the porch. The same wooden board. The same sunlit patch. With a slow, tender motion, he set the leaf down exactly where yesterday's lay. He gave it one last look, then lifted his head toward Daniel. Those eyes, deep, warm, steady, held a quiet kind of awareness. Not pleading. Not seeking treats. Just communicating something Daniel couldn't yet translate. Daniel stepped outside, the cool boards pressing against his bare feet. "You really like these leaves, huh?" Milo didn't respond with the usual bark or playful bounce. He simply watched Daniel, then turned back to sniff the air, nose tilting as if searching for the next sign, the next message carried on the breeze. Daniel crouched down, picking up the leaf Milo had brought yesterday. It felt dry now. Fragile. But the edges were still perfect. "This is the same kind as yesterday," he murmured. He compared the 2 leaves, yesterday's faded one and today's fresh one. Same shape. Same subtle golden tint around the edges. Same, calm beauty. A tiny smile crept across his face. "What are you up to, buddy?" Milo wandered a few feet away, sniffing the ground, ears perked. Not tense, no fear, no worry. Just attention. Purpose. Like he was tuned into something soft and invisible. Daniel watched him for a long moment, his own breath slowing without realizing it. Something about the dog's ritual had that effect, an unexpected grounding, a quieting of the heart. For a man whose life had been full of noise, emails, deadlines, a phone always buzzing, this simple, repeated action from Milo felt strangely soothing. He placed the leaf back beside the other and stood, folding his arms. "You've done this every morning this week," he whispered. Milo looked back, tail swaying in a slow, warm rhythm. There was something familiar about the leaf's shape. Something Daniel's mind half recognized. But the thought slipped away before he could grasp it. He shook his head lightly. "All right. Let's see what this is about." He followed Milo across the yard as the dog sniffed along the line of grass. The breeze carried a soft rustle through the trees, the same trees at the far end of the property, the ones Daniel rarely paid attention to. Milo paused near one, nose nudging the roots. Then he looked up at Daniel again. Those eyes, steady, gentle, full of some quiet intention, held him in place. "You found it here?" Daniel asked softly. Milo's tail gave a slow wave. Daniel let out a breath. "You're really trying to tell me something, aren't you?" But the moment didn't ask for answers. Not yet. Instead, the breeze shifted and a single leaf, matching the others, drifted down from the branches above. It turned softly in the air, spinning in slow circles, landing right beside Milo's paw. Daniel felt something settle inside him. A memory flickered somewhere in the back of his mind, faint, warm, familiar, but still out of reach. Milo picked up the newly fallen leaf with the same gentle care and carried it toward the porch. Daniel watched him the whole way, feeling the first thread of curiosity twist deeper. Not tension. Not fear. Just soft wonder. Back at the porch, Milo added the leaf to the small collection. 3 leaves. Placed with intention. Aligned in the same quiet pattern. Daniel swallowed, the air thickening with a feeling he couldn't name. "Milo, why these leaves?" The dog sat beside the little arrangement, chest rising and falling slowly, gaze lifting toward Daniel with soft certainty. In that moment, Daniel understood one thing clearly. This wasn't random. This wasn't a game. This was the beginning of something Milo felt deeply. And for the first time, Daniel felt it too. A gentle tug toward a mystery, wrapped in warmth, guided by a loyal friend who always seemed to sense more than he let on. Daniel crouched down again, brushing his fingers over the leaf's smooth edge. "Okay, buddy," he whispered. "Show me what you're trying to say." But Milo simply rested his head against Daniel's knee, a quiet reassurance, a promise that the meaning would come. In time. In the softest way. And as the morning light brightened, Daniel felt a calm certainty settle into his chest. Whatever Milo sensed, whatever this ritual meant, it was going to touch his life in a way he didn't yet understand. The next morning arrived with the same soft quiet as before, thin sunlight drifting across the yard, cool air brushing against the porch, and a slow warmth rising through the early light. Daniel stood at the back door again, coffee in hand, almost expecting something, though he wasn't sure what. Milo didn't make him wait. The dog emerged from the far end of the yard, moving with that same gentle purpose. No rushing. No playful hops. Just a calm, steady trot, mouth closed around another leaf. Daniel let out a small breath. "For days in a row," he murmured. Milo climbed the steps, placed the leaf beside the others with the same precise care, then looked up at Daniel as if presenting something meaningful. His tail moved at a soft rhythm, slow, warm, patient. Daniel opened the door wider and stepped out. "You're serious about this, aren't you?" Milo sat, straight-backed, quiet, eye steady. The leaves looked nearly identical, each one whole, each one fallen naturally, not torn or crumpled. They shared the same soft-tinted edges, the same delicate shape. Lined up together, they almost seemed curated. Daniel crouched, fingertips brushing across the newest leaf. "You pick the same kind every time." Milo's ears lifted. "And from the same tree," Daniel added softly. He didn't know why he said it, but he felt it. Something about the leaves' texture, their color, their shape, it matched the ones he'd seen near the old oak behind the shed. The one he had barely paid attention to for years. Milo rose and walked a slow circle around Daniel, stopping at his side. Daniel glanced down. "What are you trying to tell me, buddy?" Milo nudged his leg gently. Not insistent, just a soft reminder that this little ritual mattered. Daniel sat on the steps, taking a slow sip of coffee as the breeze stirred again. The tree's branches rustled faintly in the distance, almost like a whisper threading through the yard. The leaves caught the light in different tones: gold, brown, a touch of green. They looked peaceful, and strangely symbolic. Daniel's thoughts drifted. His mother used to collect leaves. Beautiful ones. Whole ones. Leaves that hadn't been torn or stepped on. She kept them pressed in old books or taped inside journals. He remembered being a kid, finding her by the big oak at the back of their old property, smiling as she compared shapes and colors. He swallowed, feeling a warm tug in his chest. Milo shifted closer, laying his chin on Daniel's knee. Daniel let his hand rest on Milo's head. "You think I forgot something, huh?" Milo blinked slowly, leaning into the touch. Daniel chuckled under his breath, not out of humor, but out of something softer, something touched by memory. "You're acting like a therapist with fur." The dog gave a small huff of air, almost like agreement. Daniel looked at the leaves again. "You picked these for a reason." The breeze softened. Sunlight brightened. The world held still for a breath. Daniel stood. "Okay. Let's go see that tree." He expected Milo to dart forward with excitement. But instead, the dog moved calmly, walking at Daniel's pace, glancing back every few steps as if ensuring Daniel followed with intention, not just curiosity. They stopped beneath the oak. Daniel tilted his head upward, taking in the large, quiet presence of the tree. Its branches stretched wide, old, sturdy, familiar in a way he hadn't felt in years. He touched the bark, feeling the rough surface beneath his fingertips. "It's been a while," he whispered, though he didn't quite know who he was saying it to: himself, the tree, or the memory of someone who used to love moments like this. Milo sniffed the ground, then sat beside Daniel, tail still. Daniel crouched down. "You could pick any leaf in the yard, but you come here. Every time." Milo pressed his nose gently against Daniel's arm. Something in that simple touch made Daniel's breath catch. Not in shock, but in recognition. A pattern. A quiet one. A gentle one. But a pattern just the same. He exhaled slowly. "You're trying to show me something important, aren't you?" Milo lifted his head, eyes soft and patient. Daniel reached down and picked up one fresh fallen leaf from beneath the tree. Whole. Unbroken. Beautiful. Just like the ones Milo brought. A warmth spread through his chest, nostalgia, maybe. Or longing. Or the early stirrings of understanding. He held the leaf up to Milo. "You're choosing these on purpose." Milo's tail swayed once. "Okay," Daniel said quietly. "I'm listening." He wasn't sure to what yet. Or how. Or why. But Milo's gentle ritual, the careful placement of leaves, the quiet pauses, the patient eyes. It all meant something. Something warm. Something peaceful. Something waiting to be discovered. Daniel glanced back toward the porch where the leaves rested in a tiny, carefully formed row. 4 leaves. For mornings. For deliberate choices. A soft mystery. A quiet message. A pattern Milo was gently guiding him toward. Daniel placed a hand on Milo's back. "Let's figure this out together." The dog leaned into him, offering a silent promise, one made of loyalty, understanding, and an intuition deeper than words. Together, they walked back to the porch as the morning light grew brighter, casting a warm shimmer across the leaves. Whatever this was, wherever it led, Milo wasn't doing it by accident. And Daniel, for the first time, felt ready to follow the trail. The next morning came with a soft gray sky, clouds drifting like slow-moving sails across the horizon. The air felt cooler, gentler, the kind of morning that asked you to breathe a little deeper, slow a little more, notice things you might usually overlook. Daniel stood by the window before Milo even appeared. Coffee untouched. Eyes steady on the yard. He wasn't just watching anymore. He was waiting. A quiet expectation settled inside him, warm and strangely comforting. Milo's leaf ritual had become the first thing he thought about in the morning, something grounding, something peaceful, something that made the world soften around the edges. Then, as if on cue, Milo trotted into view. Same calm steps. Same focused posture. Same gentle hold on a perfect leaf. Daniel smiled under his breath. There you are. Milo reached the steps and placed the leaf with the others, 5 now, forming a pattern that looked less like coincidence and more like intention. Milo looked up, tail giving its slow, thoughtful sway. Daniel opened the door and stepped outside. You always pick the good ones, he murmured. Milo walked toward him, resting his head briefly against Daniel's hand before turning back toward the yard, nose lifting to catch the breeze. Daniel followed him with his eyes, noticing every small detail now, the way Milo's ears twitched softly, the way he paused before selecting a leaf, the way he moved with a gentle, deliberate rhythm. Not random. Not impulsive. Purpose. Daniel sat on the porch steps, elbows resting on his knees. You're choosing them like they matter. Milo didn't respond with bark or excitement. Instead, he circled slowly through the yard, pausing at the tree line, sniffing the ground, making careful choices. Every movement had a softness to it, almost a reverence. Daniel watched, noticing things he hadn't before. Milo always inspected several leaves before picking one. He always circled it first, slow, patient, thoughtful. Then, with gentle precision, he'd lift it, careful not to tear a single edge. Daniel exhaled. You're really something, you know that? Milo glanced back at him as if acknowledging the compliment. Daniel leaned back slightly, taking in the scene, the quiet yard, the distant rustle of branches, the way the morning light filtered through the clouds and landed softly on Milo's fur. He felt himself slowing down with the dog's rhythm. And then a thought slipped in, a tender one that felt like a memory knocking softly from far away. His mother used to do the same thing. Choosing leaves, examining them gently, savoring their details. He remembered her voice, soft and calm. Every leaf has a story, Danny. You just have to look close enough to hear it. His chest warmed. His breath caught just a little. Milo stopped under the old oak, nose lowered, tail still. Then, with careful deliberation, he picked another perfect leaf and made his way back. Daniel knelt as Milo approached. Let me see that one. Milo offered it willingly. Daniel turned the leaf in his fingers, admiring the intact edges, the soft fading green in the center, the hint of gold along the curve. This one's beautiful, he whispered. Milo sat beside him, leaning into Daniel's leg with a quiet, reassuring weight. Daniel placed the new leaf beside the others. 5 leaves now. All nearly identical. All chosen with intention. He took a slow breath. You're trying to remind me of something, aren't you? Milo looked up, eyes calm, patient, understanding. Daniel gently stroked the dog's ear. I remember my mom used to collect leaves like this. She'd make little patterns on the porch, just like yours. Milo lowered his head, resting it softly on Daniel's thigh. The touch anchored Daniel. Steadied him. Opened something inside. He whispered, I haven't thought about that in a long time. Milo exhaled a warm, quiet sound as if sharing the moment with him. Daniel stayed there beside the dog, letting the memory settle, letting the morning breathe around them. The world felt hushed, like it knew something tender was unfolding. After a long moment, Daniel spoke again. You're not just bringing leaves, you're bringing me back to something. Milo nudged his knee gently. A soft confirmation. Daniel chuckled under his breath. Okay. I hear you. He gazed at the leaves again, their soft colors, their delicate shapes, their quiet presence. There was no rush to understand. No urgency. Just a warm, unfolding mystery wrapped in Milo's gentle intuition. Daniel stood slowly. Let's walk a bit. Milo followed, walking at his side, matching his pace. The yard felt different today, warmer, more alive, filled with memories that seemed to drift up from the soil itself. Daniel spoke quietly as they walked. "You're helping me notice things again. Slowing down. Feeling things I didn't expect." Milo brushed lightly against his leg. Daniel looked down. "Maybe the leaves are the start of something." The breeze shifted. Branches whispered. Milo stopped, turning his face toward the old oak again. Daniel touched Milo's back. "You lead the way, buddy. I'll follow." Together, they walked toward the tree again, toward whatever meaning Milo sensed, whatever gentle truth waited beneath the leaves, whatever memory needed to be brought into the light. The morning held them both in a warm, tender stillness. And Daniel felt it fully now. Milo wasn't choosing leaves. He was choosing moments. Moments meant to be seen, and felt, and remembered. Morning arrived with a golden softness that seemed almost intentional, like the sky had chosen a warmer shade just for them. Light filtered through the branches in gentle waves, dusting the yard in a honey-colored glow. The air felt calm, peaceful, full of a quiet anticipation Daniel couldn't quite name. He stepped outside before Milo appeared, hands tucked into his pockets, mind already leaning into the ritual. The dew shimmered on the grass. The porch boards creaked under his weight. Everything felt familiar, but deeper now. Milo emerged from behind the shed, moving with the same serene purpose as always. No rush. No noise. Just that steady trot, soft eyes, gentle presence. And in his mouth, another perfect leaf. Daniel smiled without thinking. "You never miss a morning, do you?" Milo climbed the steps, set the leaf beside the others, 6 now, and then turned to rest his head lightly against Daniel's knee. That small touch carried weight. Warmth. Comfort. A silent message Daniel felt more clearly every day. He stroked Milo's head, voice low. "Thank you, for whatever this is." Milo exhaled softly, tail brushing gently against the boards. Daniel sat down beside him, legs stretched out across the step. The leaves formed a neat little line, each one beautiful, each one chosen with care. And the sight stirred something inside him, something quiet and familiar. He spoke softly, almost to the air. "My mom would have loved you, Milo." Milo lifted his head, ears tilting. "She used to collect leaves," Daniel continued. "We'd sit on the porch, just like this, and she'd tell me why each one mattered. The color. The shape. The way it fell." His voice thinned slightly, turning softer. "She always said leaves fall when they're ready, not when they're forced. I didn't understand that when I was a kid." Milo pressed closer, slow, deliberate, comforting. Daniel let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "You remind me of her patience." The dog's eyes softened, warm and knowing. Daniel glanced at the leaves. "You think I need to remember her?" Milo nudged his arm gently. Daniel chuckled softly. "That's a yes, isn't it?" The breeze drifted through the yard, carrying with it a gentle rustle from the old oak. The sound wrapped around them like a memory, soft, distant, familiar. Daniel leaned back on his hands, letting the sun warm his face. "You know, I've been moving too fast for a long time. Work, deadlines, routines. I forgot what slow feels like." Milo lay down beside him, head resting on Daniel's foot. Daniel smiled at the simple weight. "You're grounding me, buddy." A few quiet minutes passed. No rush. Just warmth. Daniel's gaze traveled across the yard, landing on the old oak again, the leaves glowing faintly against the light. It looked peaceful. And it reminded him of a certain autumn afternoon with his mother, kneeling beneath a tree, choosing leaves together, sharing a moment that felt small then, but meant everything now. He blinked, eyes softening. "You know," she used to say, "trees remember us. That they see us grow. And that falling leaves are like reminders from them." Milo shifted, looking up at him. Daniel whispered, "Is that what you're doing? Bringing me reminders?" The dog's tail brushed the porch once, slow and sure. Daniel reached down, cupping Milo's face. You're a good boy, the best. And you're teaching me, even if I don't fully understand it yet. Milo leaned into his hand with a gentle weight. Daniel stood and walked to the edge of the porch, Milo staying close. The morning light stretched long shadows across the yard, warm and soft. Daniel breathed it in, letting it settle in his chest. I used to love mornings, he said quietly. They felt hopeful. But somewhere along the way, I stopped noticing them. Milo brushed his side gently. Daniel looked down. But you make me notice again. They walked slowly across the grass, side by side, until they reached the oak. The tree's branches swayed lightly, as if greeting them. Daniel placed a hand on the trunk. This place feels calm. Milo sat at his feet, eyes drifting upward toward the branches. Daniel knelt beside him. You come here every morning. You choose one leaf, and you bring it home. Like a message. Milo nudged the base of the tree once. Daniel's chest warmed again, this time with something deeper. Connection. Memory. Understanding beginning to take shape. He whispered, I think I'm starting to hear you. Milo rested a paw gently on Daniel's knee. That simple touch, soft, intentional, full of trust, felt like something opening inside him. Daniel took a slow breath, letting the quiet morning fill him. Milo, you're not just finding leaves. You're helping me find something I lost. The dog's eyes softened, steady and calm. Daniel touched one of the fallen leaves beneath the tree, perfect, golden-edged, whole. This feels like her. The breeze brushed their faces. Warm. Gentle. Like a memory carried in the air. Daniel gathered the leaf carefully, standing with it in hand. Let's take this one back. They walked together, slow, peaceful, back toward the porch. The morning felt fuller now. Brighter. Meaningful. And as Daniel placed the new leaf beside the others, he felt something shift inside him. A soft, growing closeness. To Milo. To the past. To the quiet warmth he'd forgotten he needed. The ritual had become more than a pattern. It was becoming a bond. A healing one. A gentle one. And Daniel could feel it deepening, leaf by leaf, morning by morning. The next morning arrived softer than the rest, clouds drifting in thin layers, sunlight pouring through them like warm milk, spreading a delicate glow across the yard. The world felt muted, calm, expectant. As if the day itself knew something quiet and meaningful was about to surface. Daniel stepped outside with no coffee this time. Just open hands, open eyes, and an open heart. Milo appeared moments later, emerging from behind the oak with the same steady calm. His tail moved slowly, in gentle sweeps, like it was painting reassurance into the air. And in his mouth, another perfect leaf. But this one was different. Daniel felt it before he even saw it fully. A small tug in his chest. A warmth he couldn't explain yet. Milo climbed the steps, placed the leaf beside the others, 7 now, and nudged it softly into alignment with the rest. Daniel lowered himself onto the porch beside the collection. That one looks a little special, he whispered. Milo sat quietly, gaze fixed on him. Daniel picked up the new leaf. It was the same shape, the same softness, the same whole beauty, except for one thing. Along the central vein, barely visible, was a faint faded line. A natural line. Thin, pale, almost like a crease. The kind you'd get if a leaf had once been pressed inside a book. Daniel stared at it. His breath paused. A pressed leaf. His mother used to keep pressed leaves. Not just random ones, but ones from days that mattered to her. Days she wanted to remember. Days she wanted him to remember too. He swallowed softly. It looks like the one she kept. Milo leaned against his leg, warm and steady. Daniel turned the leaf over, fingers gentle. When I was 12, she gave me a journal. A little brown one. She pressed a leaf just like this inside the first page. His voice thinned, becoming quieter. She told me it was from the oak in our backyard. Said it was her favorite tree, her memory keeper. Milo rested a paw lightly on Daniel's foot. Daniel blinked slowly, his eyes glistening just a little. I haven't thought about that journal in years. The dog stayed still, so still it felt like he was holding the moment for him. Daniel placed the leaf carefully beside the others. You're leading me back to something, aren't you? Milo's tail moved one soft sweep. The breeze stirred again, carrying a faint scent of earth and old wood. The oak rustled. And somewhere deep inside Daniel, something shifted like the slow opening of a door he didn't realize had been closed. He stood slowly, looking toward the shed. There's a box in there. I haven't opened it since I moved here. It had some of her things. Milo stood too, ears lifted, body alert but calm. You think I should look? Daniel murmured. Milo nudged his leg once, gentle, certain. Daniel let out a soft, shaky breath. All right, let's see. He crossed the yard, Milo right at his side, their steps quiet on the cool grass. When Daniel opened the shed door, the familiar smell of old wood, cardboard, and dust filled the air. Light slanted through the single window, illuminating stacked boxes and faded memories. Daniel crouched beside the one he hadn't touched in years, a plain brown box marked with his mother's handwriting. Milo sat beside him, silent, grounded. Daniel ran a hand over the lid. I wasn't ready before, he whispered. Milo pressed closer. Daniel opened the box slowly. Inside, old notebooks. Photos. A scarf. And then a small brown journal. Daniel felt his breath catch. The one she gave me, he whispered. He picked it up carefully, hands trembling just slightly. The cover was worn, edges soft, exactly as he remembered. He opened it to the first page, and there it was. A pressed leaf. Faded. Fragile. Nearly identical to the ones Milo had been bringing. Same shape. Same edges. Same golden tint. Daniel exhaled a long, warm breath. Milo, how did you know? The dog nudged his arm gently, eyes full of that intuitive depth, almost like he wasn't guessing. He was sensing something Daniel had forgotten to feel. Daniel touched the leaf in the journal. She gave me this the week she got sick. She said it was her way of leaving little reminders. Things that last longer than words. Milo rested his head in Daniel's lap. Daniel stroked his fur, voice soft and thick. You're giving me the same reminders, aren't you? Little moments. Slowing me down. Bringing me home to myself. The dog didn't move. He didn't need to. His presence was the answer. Daniel closed the journal gently and held it against his chest. Thank you, buddy. I didn't know how much I needed this. Milo gave a quiet exhale, a warm, deep sound of connection. They sat together in the shed doorway for a long moment, surrounded by soft light and the gentle weight of memory. The leaf Milo brought today wasn't just another part of the ritual. It was a clue. A bridge. A tender reminder from a past Daniel had locked away without meaning to. A piece of his mother's love, carried back to him through a dog who understood things in a way only dogs could. And for the first time, Daniel realized the ritual wasn't random. It wasn't even just intuitive. It was healing. Leaf by leaf. Memory by memory. Milo was guiding him somewhere warm. Somewhere true. And Daniel felt himself finally, quietly, ready to follow. Morning broke gently, no bright sun, no sweeping glow. Just a soft, pale light, hazy, calm, the kind that wrapped the world in quiet understanding. Daniel stepped outside with slow breaths, the journal tucked carefully beneath his arm. Milo was already waiting at the edge of the porch. Not with a leaf this time. Just waiting. Daniel paused. You didn't bring one today? Milo's tail gave a soft, single wave. Then he turned, nudged Daniel's leg, and walked toward the yard without looking back. Not to the leaf pile. Not to the usual spot. Toward the oak. Daniel's chest tightened, not with fear, with a warmth that felt like anticipation. Something was shifting. Something Milo had been guiding him toward one gentle step at a time. He followed. Clouds drifted overhead, low and soft. The air smelled faintly of damp bark and morning earth. Milo walked slowly, glancing back every few seconds, making sure Daniel stayed close. As if today mattered differently. When they reached the base of the oak, Milo stopped, nose pointed toward a patch of ground Daniel hadn't noticed before. A spot near the roots, partly covered by old leaves, partly hidden by the curve of the trunk. Milo sat beside it. Still. Patient. Almost reverent. Daniel knelt down. "What is it, buddy?" Milo lowered his head, nose gently touching the ground. Daniel brushed aside a few fallen leaves, then a few more, until the outline of something wood-like peeked through the soil. He froze. What? It wasn't buried deep, more like it had settled there years ago and become part of the earth. Daniel brushed more soil away, revealing the corner of a small wooden box. His breath shook. Milo nudged his shoulder gently, urging him to continue. Daniel carefully lifted the box, light, old, covered in soft moss and dust. He wiped the top with his sleeve. No lock. Just a simple latch. He hesitated. Milo pressed against him, warm, grounding, certain. Daniel opened the box slowly. Inside were folded pieces of paper, a few dried flowers, and a tiny pressed leaf identical to the ones Milo had brought. His throat tightened. Inside the box lay a note, written in his mother's handwriting. He unfolded it with shaking hands. The paper was worn, edges softened by time, the ink faint but legible. For when Daniel grows older and needs to remember that he is loved. Daniel inhaled sharply. The world softened around him. His chest felt warm and full. Milo leaned his head into Daniel's side. Daniel continued reading. The oak will keep our memories. And the leaves will always guide him home. A breath escaped him, slow, trembling, full of emotion he didn't know how to contain. He whispered, "She left this for me." Milo nudged the note gently with his nose, then looked up at Daniel with the softest, deepest kind of intuition. Daniel's voice cracked. You led me here." The dog rested a paw on his knee, silent but expressive. Daniel placed the note back in the box for a moment, wiping his face with the back of his hand. "I forgot this place." Forgot she called it her memory keeper. Milo moved closer and pressed his head into Daniel's chest. Daniel held him, eyes closing as warm emotion washed through him, soft, steady, healing. "This wasn't just about the leaves," he whispered. "You were trying to bring me back here." Milo exhaled a deep, gentle breath against him. Daniel looked around, the branches swaying above, the morning light turning the air gold, the spot where the box had rested like a quiet secret waiting to be found. He ran a hand along the bark of the oak. "You knew. Somehow, you knew what I needed." Milo sat beside him again, tail brushing lightly against the grass. Daniel opened the box once more, picking up the small pressed leaf inside. It was fragile. Delicate. But intact. Just like the memories. He whispered, "She'd be so grateful to you, Milo." The dog leaned his head against Daniel's shoulder. Daniel placed the little leaf beside Milo's paws. "You helped me find this, and you didn't even need to bring a leaf today." Milo looked up at him, eyes soft, eyes that seemed to hold the gentlest truth. Daniel understood. "Today wasn't about adding to the pile," he said quietly. "Today was about finding the meaning." The oak rustled softly above them. A breeze swept through, warm, tender, almost like a presence brushing past. Daniel closed the box with care. "I'm keeping this inside. Somewhere safe." He looked down at Milo, voice warm, steady, grateful. "You're not just a dog. You're my guide, my reminder, my connection to the love I thought I'd lost." Milo lifted his paw and placed it on Daniel's hand. Simple. Soft. Powerful. Daniel smiled through the warmth in his chest. "Come on, buddy. Let's go home." They walked back toward the porch, slow, side by side. No leaves today, just understanding. Because the turning point wasn't the ritual. It was the meaning behind it. The healing it carried. The love it uncovered. And Daniel felt it all with a heart finally opening. To memory. To gratitude. To the gentle truth Milo had led him to. The next morning was unusually still, no breeze, no rustling branches, no early bird calls breaking the silence. Just a soft, calm hush over the entire yard, as if the world itself knew that something important had already been found. Daniel stepped outside holding the wooden box from yesterday, the journal tucked under his arm. The porch boards felt warmer beneath his feet. The air felt gentler on his skin. His breathing came easier, slower. Milo sat on the porch waiting for him, tail sweeping softly, not in excitement, but in a quiet welcome. Daniel smiled. No leaf today either, huh? Milo's gentle sway of the tail answered enough. The ritual had changed. Not ended, just shifted. Because Milo had delivered him to the truth. Daniel sat beside him, placing the box on the wooden boards. I read every note last night, all of them. Milo leaned closer, his head resting against Daniel's thigh. Daniel opened the box again, carefully unfolding another slip of paper. His mother's handwriting, soft, looping, full of warmth, looked like it hadn't aged at all. He read aloud, voice calm, steady. If you ever feel lost, if the world feels too fast, go back to the oak. It remembers us. It will remind you too. Milo lifted his head, ears turning toward the sound of the words, like he understood their weight. Daniel exhaled slowly. She always knew how to slow me down. Even now. He looked at the dog. You've been doing the same thing for me. Milo nudged his shoulder gently. Daniel continued reading through the notes, each one a quiet message from his mother across time. Leaves fall when they're ready. So do people. You don't have to hold everything. Just hold what feels gentle. Whenever life feels heavy, choose one small beautiful thing. Start there. Daniel's breath trembled, not from pain, but from a deep, warming ache of connection. He closed the box gently. You helped me choose small beautiful things again, didn't you? Milo sat tall, eyes warm, calm, intuitive. Daniel looked out toward the oak tree. Its branches were full and still, like a guardian watching over them. You knew I needed something to follow, something soft, something steady. Milo leaned against him again, entire body offering comfort. Daniel's voice softened to a whisper. You brought those leaves like she used to bring me little gifts, tiny reminders that I wasn't alone. Milo nudged his cheek with his nose. A soft, tender gesture. Daniel chuckled under a shaky breath. You're really something, buddy. The air stirred gently then, a small breeze sweeping through the yard, just enough to flutter the leaves still arranged on the porch. Daniel watched them as they shifted slightly, catching the morning light, glowing softly like warm embers. 7 leaves. 7 mornings of quiet intention. 7 steps leading him back to a part of his heart he didn't realize he'd been missing. Daniel's voice dropped to almost a whisper. You knew I needed to remember her. Milo looked up, eyes full of gentle certainty. Daniel placed a hand on his head. You were bringing her back to me. The breeze strengthened, rustling the branches of the oak, not loudly, not sharply, just enough to sound like a soft sigh. A memory came to Daniel, clear, warm, grounding. His mother kneeling under their old oak tree, smiling at him as she placed a perfect leaf in his small hand. This tree holds memories, Danny. Whenever you forget something important, it'll remind you. Daniel blinked through the warmth in his eyes. His voice cracked with something tender and beautiful. I forgot, Mom, but Milo helped me remember. Milo rested his paw on Daniel's knee, the same gentle gesture he'd made many mornings before. Only now, the meaning was clear. Complete. Whole. Daniel inhaled deeply, letting the morning air fill him. You didn't just pick leaves, Milo. You picked the right ones. The same kind she saved. The same kind she pressed in that journal. You brought them to the same porch where she used to sit. He shook his head softly, amazed, grateful, moved. You connected everything. You stitched the past back to the present. Milo lowered his head into Daniel's lap, eyes closing in calm contentment. Daniel stroked his fur. I get it now, buddy. In the quiet of the yard, with leaves glowing under gentle sunlight and the oak standing tall behind them, Daniel finally saw the full picture. Milo's ritual wasn't habit. Wasn't coincidence. Wasn't random intuition. It was love. Quiet, perceptive, steadfast love. The kind dogs carry without speaking. The kind that shows up exactly when humans need it most. The kind that heals. Daniel whispered, "You brought me home." A soft breeze brushed against his cheek, warm, almost like a touch. And for a moment, Daniel felt her not as a memory, but as something present, alive in the leaves, alive in the oak, alive in the dog beside him. Her love hadn't vanished. It had simply changed form. And Milo had guided him back to it. The morning arrived with a light so gentle it felt like a blessing, soft gold pouring through thin clouds, touching every surface with a quiet kind of warmth. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't bright. It was soothing. Healing. The kind of morning that feels like it's been waiting patiently for you. Daniel stepped outside holding nothing this time. No journal. No box. Just himself, and a heart that finally felt open again. Milo was already there, lying near the porch steps, head resting on his paws. When he saw Daniel, he lifted his gaze, not excited, not playful, but warm, calm, and deeply present. Daniel lowered himself beside him. Hey, buddy. Milo shifted, leaning his body lightly against Daniel's leg. They sat in silence for a moment, the kind of silence that doesn't ask for words, the kind that feels like two hearts breathing together. Daniel exhaled slowly. This place feels different now. Milo's tail gave a soft, slow sweep. Daniel looked toward the oak tree in the distance. Its branches swayed gently, leaves shimmering in the morning light. You know, Daniel murmured, it's funny. I moved here thinking I just needed a quiet place. A fresh start. But I didn't realize I'd been carrying so much, unfinished inside me. Milo rested his chin on Daniel's knee, grounding him instantly. Daniel smiled softly. You helped me see that. He picked up one of the 7 leaves from the porch, turning it slowly between his fingers. It's strange, he said quietly. Something so small, but it was enough to open all those memories again. A pause. And they don't hurt the way they used to. Milo looked up, eyes warm, deep, steady. Daniel let the leaf fall lightly back into place, letting the breeze catch its edge. The pain's still there, he admitted. But it's quieter now. Like it belongs in the story, not outside of it. He leaned back, resting his hands on the porch, letting the sunlight wash over him. And I think she'd want that. She always said grief doesn't disappear, it just becomes part of how we love. Milo nestled closer. Daniel chuckled softly. You're doing her job now. Did you know that? The dog gave a gentle huff of breath, as if accepting the role without hesitation. For a while, they simply sat watching the yard move in soft rhythms. A bird hopped along the fence. Wind brushed through the grass. Shadows shifted, slow and calm. Then Milo stood. Not suddenly. Not urgently. Just, purposefully. He walked to the edge of the steps, turning to look at Daniel. Daniel raised an eyebrow. What's up? Milo stepped onto the grass and paused, tail lifting once, before walking toward the oak tree. But only halfway. He turned again, waiting. Daniel stood. All right. I'm coming. He followed Milo across the yard, each step slow, gentle, like walking toward something sacred. Milo led him to a spot where the sunlight broke through the branches in a warm patch. There, on the ground, lay a leaf. Not one picked or carried. Just one that had naturally fallen, perfect edges, soft gold, whole and beautiful, glowing in the light. Milo looked at Daniel, eyes soft but insistent. Daniel knelt down. You want me to take this one? Milo nudged the leaf toward him with his nose. Daniel lifted it slowly, holding it in his palm. It felt warm. Alive. Meaningful. This one's mine to choose, isn't it? He whispered. Milo sat beside him, leaning his body gently into Daniel's. The dog had brought him 7 leaves. Guided him to the box. Helped him reconnect the past with the present. Showed him how love can travel through memory, through ritual, through small, beautiful moments. But this leaf, this one was for Daniel to take on his own. Daniel closed his fingers around it. Thank you, Milo. The dog gave a soft exhale, pressing his head into Daniel's shoulder. Daniel felt it then, not sadness, not longing, but gratitude. Deep, honest gratitude. They walked back to the porch together. Daniel placed the new leaf, the one he chose, at the center of the small collection. The 7 Milo had brought felt like a journey. This 8th one felt like his place in it. He whispered, "This is our last one, buddy. The one that closes the circle." Milo sat beside him, tail sweeping softly against the boards. Daniel ran a gentle hand across Milo's fur. "You taught me to slow down. To notice things again. To remember, not with pain, but with warmth." Milo pressed closer, offering quiet companionship. Daniel glanced at the leaves, their golden hues glowing softly in the morning. A reminder of love. A reminder of memory. A reminder of healing. He looked down at his dog, the loyal heart who had carried him back to himself. "You didn't just bring me leaves, Milo," he said softly. "You brought me home." The breeze stirred, warm and calm. The oak rustled, like a whisper through time. And Daniel finally felt whole again, not because the past was restored, but because love had found a new way to reach him. Right here. Through a quiet ritual. Through a gentle guide. Through a dog who understood more than words. Daniel rested his forehead against Milo's. "Thank you," he whispered. "For everything." And the world around them, quiet, warm, peaceful, held the moment with a softness that felt like closure, and a beginning all at once.